All right, folks. Thanks for checking out the video. I want to talk today about Montana State Representative uh, Zooey Zephyr. That's how he spells his name, so that's how I'm going to pronounce his name. But we've seen this person in the news this week regarding some legislature actions in Montana about protecting biological females and standing up for sanity. Now, this person's been getting a lot of praise in the mainstream media, but who really is this person? Now, we haven't seen a lot of reporting on this, but I found a Twitter thread by a guy called Jeremy Carl, who is a senior fellow at the Claremont Institute out of California. So I'm going to go through this and we'll learn a little bit about the origins of Zooey Zephyr. Okay, so it says here transgender identifying Montana House member Zooey Zephyr became a media celebrity when he accused the Montana GOP of having blood on their hands after passing a bill to block genital and hormonal mutilation of children. But who is Zooey Zephyr? Let's discuss. So you see a picture here. There's Zooey here, and here's here he is on this side. Uh, not a very convincing woman here. It says Zephyr's original speech, clearly totally out of bounds for a legislative debate, first brought him to major national attention after an initial burst of interest when he was elected in 2022. So here's that video here.
That saves our lives. And these are hollow words coming from someone whose amendments are going to make it harder to access that care. The bill says it does not prohibit social affirmations. That's not necessarily true. It prohibits the use of state buildings for advocating for or allowing social transitioning. It says that it allows the access to psychotherapy that treat Montanans struggling with their gender identity. If you disallow the use of the medical care that is accepted by every major medical association, if you disallow that care and don't allow people to have access to that, the only therapy left is either A, meaningless, or B, conversion therapy, which is torture. And the only thing I will say is if you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation, when you bow your heads in prayer, you see the blood on your hands. We need access to the medical care that saves our...
All right, enough of that. This guy doesn't know anything about prayer, so don't talk about prayer, dude. And secondly, what this guy is advocating for is not medical care. What he's advocating for is elective cosmetic surgery, particularly for minors. So this is not life-saving medical care in any sense of the definition. Okay, so we'll move on here. Yesterday, this was posted April 27th, so this was a couple days ago, just for reference. The Montana House expelled him from the floor for the rest of the legislative session. Representative Zephyr claims that when he came out as transgender, his mother told him that he, quote, always wanted to be a martyr. He's now getting his wish. So that's very interesting that the guy's own mother said that he always wanted to be a martyr. So this guy's playing out some kind of fantasy here. Okay, so now we'll kind of get into it here. But who really is Zooey Zephyr? Both Montana and national media seem incurious. Isn't that so interesting? Much of the media nowadays seems incurious about a lot of things. It says an exhaustive internet search reveals a disquieting story, one that shows a disturbed young man with a troubled past in a series of toxic relationships. So this here is Zooey Zephyr, okay? Born in Billings, Montana as Zachary Raish. Now, That name could be pronounced differently. I'm not intentionally mispronouncing it if I am, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it because that's how it looks. He was a champion high school wrestler. Zooey Zephyr, currently in the state and national headlines, did not even exist until 2019, when, after several months of taking female hormones, Raish, quote, publicly transitioned. And there's a picture here of two guys wrestling. So and so of South Kitsap flips Zach Raish of Newport on his way to a first place finish in the 119-pound class during the 29th annual Matman Classic at Central Kitsap High. Uh, so moving on here, he had surgical vaginoplasty in 2022. Indeed, he was not in Missoula on election night when he was elected to the Montana House, but flying to New York for post-operative care of the wound where his natural genitals used to be. Okay, kind of sick there, but we'll continue. According to Raish, his parents, quote, disowned him when he decided to transition. Raish was originally motivated to run for the state legislature in response to the attempts to ban, quote, transgender girls, aka boys, from girls and women's sports. Disturbingly, he is extremely interested in transhumanism, the melding of man and machine through technological enhancement of the human body, the subject of an abandoned master's thesis at the University of Montana. Perhaps this explains his desire to modify his body. Previously, he was a major player in the online Super Smash Bros. Online gaming community. The community was hit by a scandal in 2020 involving major players and the sexual abuse of minors. Not really surprised there. Not really surprised. Raish has expressed regret that through taking minors to tournaments, he may have exposed them to harm. Was Raish/Zephyr an abuser or victim? He is also a fan of manga and anime. Raish has posted disturbing sexualized anime images on his Twitter. He shows all the classic signs of an autogynephilic, a man who, often spurred by pornographic or fetish, becomes sexually aroused by the idea of themselves as women. So you're not going to see any of this in the mainstream media. Raish is also dating Anthony Aaron Reed, one of the most prominent national transgender activists. Reed has a disturbing background himself, and one again that has been almost completely ignored by the national media in which he has frequently appeared. So that's this gentleman here. So this guy who's supposedly in a relationship with this Zooey Zephyr character calls this guy out, and he basically confirms his reporting here. So I thought this was interesting because you're not seeing really much of anything in the way of substantive reporting about this individual, who they are, what their background is, and what their motivations are. You're just not going to see it. So you can't create an identity one day and just expect people to ignore your past. You just can't do it. All right. And on this channel here, we stand for truth, we stand for reason, and this person needs to be called out. Okay. This is a very suspect individual here. Okay. And okay, they can live their life the way they want, but to call for the mutilation of children in the state of Montana just goes too far, and we're gonna call them out, and we're gonna stop them, and they're not gonna have their way with children. Period. Point blank. So let me know what you all think, and as always, we'll see you on the next one.